Hello, dear TYBSC friends. Once again, I welcome you all in the second lecture on multiple choice questions, important multiple choice questions for the forthcoming final examination that is to be conducted by Savitribai Phule Pune University Pune in October 2020. In first video lecture, we have seen very basic and fundamental questions related to fundamental properties of nucleus like composition, binding energy and so many other things. In this video lecture today, we are going to discuss few more questions related to radioactivity and few important nuclear reactions. Again, as I said here, some of the questions may have 5 options, some of the questions may have 4 options. So we can decide the correct option. We have to decide the correct option, and as and when required, we will discuss each and every questions with some deep understanding, and whatever study you have done earlier, that is going to be revised, that is going to be recalled, and we are going to discuss the things as and when it is required. So let's go for the question 1. The atomic nucleus consists of very basic and a fundamental question. Not only protons and not only neutrons or not electrons too. So the correct answer of this is electron, B is proton, C is protons and electrons, D is protons and neutrons, and E is neutrons and electrons. So option D is the correct option. Every nucleus consists of protons and neutrons inside it. Okay, protons and neutrons, and they are the part of the nucleus. Electrons are revolving in the orbits, either circular orbits or elliptical orbits, as per this vector atom model. Okay, vector atom model, we have learned all this. So atomic physics and nuclear physics are two separate branches of physics that we must know as usual. Okay, second question. The atomic mass number represents the following. Again, as we have seen earlier, we define any nucleus this way. For example, if I am writing carbon 6C12, so we use this nomenclature. This is Z, number of protons, or that is called as atomic number. Then this is the symbol for the nucleus, X, I'll write it this, Z, this is X is the symbol for that nucleus or that particular element, and A is this, that is called as atomic mass number. Some books use this terminology or this type of method of writing this nucleus. Some books use this Z, X and A. Some use this also. So X, Z here and A here. So doesn't matter. Either I am using this methodology, this method or this method. This Z represents an atomic number, or that is the number of protons contained by the particular nucleus. This is its symbol. This X is always its a symbol, and this A is nothing but the mass number, or that is nothing but the number of nucleons, total number of nucleons, that is protons plus neutrons, that is said to be this. So the question 2 here, the atomic mass number represents the following. The total number of electrons in the atoms, not at all possible. The total number of protons in the atom, that is also not, as we have discussed, it is atomic number. Total number of protons and neutrons in the atom, that must be the correct answer. Option D is the total number of neutrons in the atom, that is also not correct. This is, so as we can hear, this is the number of electrons, which is exactly Z. Z number of electrons are there. Total number of protons, that is number Z. Total number of protons and neutrons, that is Z plus N, and that is what you are equal to E. That is the correct answer here. And further, the total number of neutrons in the atom, this is given by N, and the total number of electrons and protons in the atom, that is again Z, as I said earlier. So this is how second question is very easy and theoretical questions what we have discussed here. Next is number 3. The atomic number represents the following. Again, just now we have seen, this is what a Z, ZXE, or this ZXE. So this represents the number of protons. So you can very easily find out the correct answer in this question. So A is number of protons in the atom, B is the number of neutrons in the atom, the total number of protons and neutrons in the atom, and the total number of electrons and neutrons in the atom. So out of this, the option A is correct option. That gives you total number of protons in the atom is nothing but the atomic number, and this is what the basis, fundamental basis on which we can draw a periodic table wherein each and every element or the nucleus element, in this element, can be placed at its proper location in the periodic table. So we must understand the periodic table and this atomic number, they have a close relations that we might have learned in the chemistry and so on. Next is fourth question. The isotope of carbon 6C14 consists of dash dash number of protons and dash dash number of neutrons. Again, this is same thing. We have written this N plus Z is equal to A. This A is 14, Z is 6. So let's calculate this N. N is equal to 14 minus 6. That's why it will contain 8 number of neutrons. So these are the number of neutrons in the carbon isotope, that is 6C14. So this 6 number of protons and 8 number of neutrons. So option C is the correct option for that. Then next is now a bigger element, heavier element is given here. Again, same method is to be used for this case also. So isotope of uranium 92, uranium 238 consists of dash dash number of protons and dash number of, or that dash dash number of neutrons. So again, use the same formula. A is equal to N plus Z. A is 238. N is equal to that is to be calculated, and this 92 is the protons. So number of protons given is 92. So calculating this, N is equal to 238 minus 92. So go for this calculation, you will get this is to be 6. Then this is 13 minus 9 is 4, and here it is 2 minus 1 is 1. So it is 146. So the combination here is number of protons 92 and number of neutrons is 146, and therefore option B is the correct option for this. So these were very 3 basic questions which were related to the actually chapter number 1. Now next question. When an electron is emitted by unstable nucleus, the atomic mass number is, so first is increased by 1, increased by 2, decreased by 1, decreased by 2, and doesn't change. So first and the primary, we'll understand that actually electron is not a part of nucleus at all, okay, but so protons and neutrons are the components of the nucleus, as we all know, but sometimes one of the electron comes out of the nucleus, and that is called as beta decay. So this particular reaction is related to nothing but beta decay. The one of the neutron, suppose this is proton here and this is neutron here, this neutron consists of positive and negative charge simultaneously. At the same time, it holds both of these charges together. So this actually one of this negative charge of the neutron comes out, and this neutron gets converted into proton, and electron comes out of this, and this is nothing but your beta decay. So beta decay is the process where one neutron gets converted into proton. So number of protons increased, but the number of nucleons doesn't change. And what you ask? Atomic mass number. Atomic mass number means what happens to Z. Z is number of protons earlier is to be added by one of the protons. One neutron gets reduced, and one atomic number goes on increasing, and therefore this option A is the correct option, that it is increased by 1. So beta decay is the process where one neutron gets converted into proton, so atomic number increases by 1, whereas this electron produced in this process is not allowed to remain inside the nucleus. This also we have discussed earlier with the help of uncertainty principle, Heisenberg uncertainty principle. We can prove that this electron cannot remain inside the nucleus. Whenever it is generated, it has to come out, because it does not qualify to remain inside the nucleus energetically. The minimum amount of energy it requires to be inside the nucleus is much more than what it possesses, and therefore it is thrown out of, literally thrown out of the nucleus, and that is what we call the beta decay, and therefore this atomic mass number is increased by 1. Okay, and if I go for the mass number only, then this mass number doesn't change, so that will be answer would have been E. If this mass number had been asked. Since atomic mass number has been asked, and therefore no, sorry, we have made a mistake here again, and we have asked atomic. Either we should have been asked atomic number or mass number. If atomic number, then it is increased by 1. If mass number, then it doesn't change. So these are the two questions involved in the single question only. Next, question number 7. When a positron is nothing but inverse beta decay. It is inverse beta decay, or that is beta plus, or that is nothing but positron, or that is the particle E plus. So in this case, one of the proton gets converted into neutron, that is 0 charge, and plus E plus charge. This is what the positron. Here also, positron also does not qualify to remain inside the nucleus, and therefore it is also easily thrown out of the nucleus, and that becomes a inverse beta decay or E plus decay or positron decay. And here in this case, one of the proton gets converted into neutron, and therefore the atomic mass number, again we can make two questions, atomic number decreased by 1. Okay, this atomic number decreased by 1, and again atomic mass number of that also remains, don't change. So total number of nucleons doesn't change, only one of the proton gets converted to neutron, therefore its atomic number gets decreased by 1. So C is the correct answer of this question number 7. Then this is when alpha particle is emitted by an unstable nucleus, the atomic mass number is, again here remember this is alpha particle is nothing but twice He4. So this comes out of the nucleus, so 2 number of protons and 2 number of neutrons, so 2 protons plus 2 neutrons comes out in the pair of this, in the form of this alpha particle, or that is helium nucleus. So atomic mass number decreases by 4, and atomic number, okay, what happens to atomic number? It decreases by 2. So atomic number of protons here, this decreases by 2, while mass number is decreases by 4. So mass number that decreases by 4, and therefore I can see here atomic mass number is increases by 1, increase by 2, decrease by 1, decrease by 2, and doesn't change. So out of that, I should have this particular question to be asked with atomic number. So this atomic number would be decreased by 2. So this is the proper answer of this question number 9. You'll find these are what alpha and beta decay, etc., that is shown to be here. Now question number 10. When free proton and neutrons join to form a nucleus, the energy is, so whenever proton and neutron comes together, that becomes, so one proton plus neutron, so that gives you deuteron. Okay, and deuteron is a pair of proton and neutron, and we always find whenever deuteron is formed, mass of deuteron is always less than individual masses of proton plus mass of neutron. So this is the total mass, and therefore in this process certain mass is lost, and this mass gets converted into energy, and this is how what the energy is formed during the process of combining or joining of this proton and neutron together and forming the deuterium. And this is what happened in case of each and every nucleus. So whatever smaller or bigger nucleus may be, when such number of protons and neutrons come together and they form the nucleus, in this process some certain mass is lost, and this mass gets converted into energy, and this is what the energy released at the time of the formation of the nucleus. That is what also we have called to be a binding energy. So naturally in this case energy is released, and option E is the most correct option for this question number 10. Now question 11. Which of the following statement about the mass of separated nucleons and the mass of the nucleus they form is correct? Just now we have discussed here the individual nucleons separated, protons plus neutrons, their mass is always more than the mass of the nucleus formed out of these two, this combination. Therefore in this process, as we discuss one by one, A option is the mass of separated nucleons is greater than the nuclear mass. This is option A. the mass of the separated nucleus is less than the nucleus mass. This is not correct. The mass of the separated nucleus is equal to the nucleus mass. This is also not correct. The mass of the separated nucleus is greater than the nucleus mass only by the light nuclei. This is also not correct. It is true for all nuclei. And the mass of separated nucleus is greater than the nucleus mass only for heavy nucleus. So both these options D and E are not that good or not appropriate. So E is the correct option, that mass of separate nucleus is always greater than the mass of the nucleus or nuclear mass. We are going to come across the next problem is exactly based upon this. So that was discussed earlier. Question number 11 was theoretically. Now in a formula, we can replace this particular example by this question number 12. So which of the following is the defect mass or mass defect of a nucleus? So M is nucleus mass, MP is the proton's mass, Mn is the neutron's mass. So naturally again, so mass of the proton plus neutron minus M, that gives you the mass defect or the amount of mass that will be disappeared and the equivalent amount of energy released. So in this case, option B is the most appropriate or correct option, and all the options are wrong when we go for calculation of this mass defect of any of the nucleus. Then which of the following is the binding energy? That is what the energy released in the process of formation of the nucleus, and we know that this is given by this E is equal to mc square mass energy equivalence relativistic equation, and here M is the mass disappeared or mass reduced multiplied by c square. This is the amount of energy released in the process. So naturally E is the correct option for this question number 13. So H into F, that is for electromagnetic radiations. Mgh is the classical energy. 1/2 mv square is again kinetic energy measured by classically, and E is equal to qv. Whenever the charge particle is accelerated through a potential, the gain in its kinetic energy is given by E is equal to qv. So most appropriate answer E is equal to delta m into c square. That gives you the amount of energy released in the process, or that is nothing but the binding energy. Now next is now related to the reaction. So which of the following is the correct product of alpha decay? So as we know that alpha decay, when it comes out, the original nucleus, its proton number or atomic number reduces by 2 and its mass number gets reduced by 4. So this 226 minus 4. So if I go for this calculation, it gives me 222, the number of nucleus or the atomic mass number, and 88, that is number of protons minus 2 protons. So that gives me 86. Now in the given list, see the element which is having 86 number of protons or atomic number and 222 as its mass number. So naturally C is the most correct answer, which gives me the correct product in the alpha decay of this reaction. So that radium gets converted into helium, and this another isotope of radium, that is 86 Ra222. I think we have made some mistake here. This must be radium, Rd. Radon and radium, these are the two elements. This is something, symbol is wrong something here, but you can understand what happens in the actual reaction. Then next, again here now lighter nuclei, that gives you beta decay. So 6C14, this is the beta decay of the radioactive carbon. Which of the following is the correct product of this beta decay? So beta decay of this C614, this must give you one of the, what happens in this case, one of the neutron, it gives its positive charge to the one of the so it gives out the positive charge, so one of the proton will be increased. So naturally the new element formed will be now 7n14. So this number of this A remains same, it doesn't change, it remains same, whereas this P or Z increases by 1, and therefore S6 plus 1 will be 7, and N will remain, sorry, this A will remain as F14. So this is the nucleus, that is 7n14, or that is what we have written, 7n14. A is the nucleus that will be created in this process of beta decay of radioactive carbon. And we as well know that this particular element is basically used, okay, so this element 6C12 is used for radioactive radiocarbon dating. So this is what radiocarbon dating element basically used, wherein this isotope of uranium, carbon, that is called as radiocarbon. So as we know on this process, a live animal, its intake of the 6C14 is constant. So thereby in his body or in its body, the amount of C614 and activity is always found to be just normal or constant every time because of its food intake. Once that animal or that particular plant dies, then its process of intake of 6C14 stops, and therefore the 6C14 activity goes on reducing to its normal, and based upon that we can calculate age of that particular fossil or that sample very easily using this radiocarbon dating. So this is the basic process where this radiocarbon dating reaction is involved. This is one more example number 17. Which of the following is the correct product of beta plus decay? So here, as I said, electron plus or E plus particle, that is positron, that comes out, and here, as I said, one of the proton gives its charge out, and therefore this E plus comes out, and therefore neutron is generated. So 0 and 1. So another neutron is added. So number of nucleons, that A remains same in this process, and what happens in the Z? Z is decreased by 1. So here we had initially we had 9 number of protons and minus 1. So it be 10 number of protons minus 1, that becomes 9 number of protons for a new element. A remains same. So find out the element where in which we will have this 9, then this element will be fluorine, and it will have 20 number of nucleons. So out of the given option, all the options are no option is correct. Actually this would have been, this element would have been given 9 fluorine 20. Okay, 9 fluorine 20, and then this would have been correct answer. So make this particular change here. So this number to be equal to 20, 9F20. So that fluorine will be created in the process from this neon. So neon 1020, this gets converted into 9F20 by the process of this beta plus decay. So that is to be understood. One of the option is not found to be correct there. So next is question number 18. Which of the following statement is not true or false about alpha radiation? Which is not true? We have to find out of the given statements. It is produced by unstable nucleus. That is correct. That is true. It can be penetrate a piece of paper. We also know that it has least penetration power. So it could, at the most, it can penetrate a piece of paper, but heavy elements or heavy material cannot be penetrated by these alpha particles. Then it can ionize gases. That is also correct. It ionizes the gases on the highest scale. So again, ionizing power of the alpha particle is maximum as compared to any of the radiations. It can be deflected by magnetic field. This is also correct because it has a charge, and charged particle in magnetic field changes its path, and that's why it gets deflected by the magnetic field. And it is short wavelength electromagnetic photons. So this is the speciality of gamma radiations, and that's what this is not applicable for the alpha particle, and that's why correct option here is this option E. Then next, which of the following statement is not true about gamma radiation? So here also we can read one by one. It is produced by unstable nucleus. That is correct, true statement. Then it can penetrate several centimeters of lead. So as I said, it has maximum penetration power. So this is also true. It can ionize gases. Yes, this is also true. To a certain extent, this also can ionize these gases. It can be deflected by magnetic field, and this is a wrong statement or the not true statement, because these photons or these gamma radiations do not have any charge. Therefore, there is no question of getting deflection either by electric field or magnetic field, and therefore this option D is the correct option for this question number 19, as we have shown here. It is short wavelength electromagnetic photon. This is also correct, as this was the option, earlier option question, this 18, that was the wrong statement there, but here in case of gamma radiation, this statement is also true. So question option D is the wrong option or the not correct option for that, and that's why this is not true for case of this gamma radiations. That can be understood. Now this is the next is a numerical question. If the half-life of radioactive material is 2 days, how much of the material will be left after 6 days, and that is what we have discussed in earlier video too. So we can write here at t is equal to 0 days, we have this sample to be equal to 100%, or suppose 100 atoms are there. Then in next 2 days, how much will remain? This will remain to be 1 upon 50. So this is 1. I will go for originally, this will be 1 by 2. In next 2 days, that means total 4 days, this will become 25. So that is count to be a percentage is 25% or 1 by 4, because our options are given this. Next is t equal to 6 days. After 2 more days to earlier, so 2 more days, that is 6 days. So this will become 12.5, and this is 1 upon 8. So here our example was asked that, question was that how much material will be left, disintegrated will be different and left will be different, and after 6 days the amount of material remain will be as we have shown here. It is 12.5% or 12.5 atoms of that radioactive sample will remain, and that comes to be 1 upon 8 times of original, and therefore D is the correct answer there. So there, this way we can go on calculating the number of atoms remaining present in the sample of radioactive type, as well as I already discussed. So number of atoms disintegrated, if I go here also, I'll get 0% atom are disintegrated, here 50% are disintegrated, here 75% are disintegrated, and plus 12.5 if it is added, so here comes to be 87.5% disintegrate. So this is the disintegrated, this is remaining, and this is what the number of actual atoms disintegrated or remaining in this case. So these two are, this is expressed in number, this is expressed in the proportion, and this is what the time period or the half-life, half-life period, what happens to the element, that is shown by this. Next example is again exactly based upon the same example, same problem, same formula. In an experiment with radioactive material, a physics student conducted 2 measurements. Initially it was measured to be 120 gram of the material, and after a certain time the amount of radioactive material was reduced to 7.5 grams. That means from 120 grams to 7.5 grams. After every half-life period, what remains, that is to be mentioned here. So if the half-life of the material is 20 minutes, that means after 20 minutes the original number of atoms gets reduced to be half of its original, and that's what we can go for this. So what is the elapsed time between 2 measurements? So when he started measurements at t equal to 0 minutes or second, whatever time unit you are, minutes I am taking, there was 120 gram of material available there. Then because of this 20 minutes, after 20 minutes, so total material remain will be 60 gram. Then after 2 more 20 minutes, that is 20 plus 20 becomes 40 minutes, you will get this to be 30 grams. Then again for next 20 minutes, so total is 0, 20 plus 20 plus 20, that becomes now 60 minutes, and this will become 50 grams. And from 1 more 20 minutes, so it becomes total 80 minutes, and now this will become 7.5 grams. So after these 4 such steps, the amount of material in the radioactive sample will reduce from 120 grams to 7.5 grams, and therefore 80 minutes, this will be the correct answer here, and therefore D is the correct option for this question number 21. This is related to radioactive decay. Again, this is what a problem in a different way. Earlier problem we have discussed, same one, 22. The nuclear reaction X that gives you Y plus Z occurs spontaneously if Mx, My and Maz are the masses of the 3 particles. Which of the following relationship is true? Here heavier atom gets converted into 2 lighter nuclei, and in this process also there is always a loss of the mass, and whenever loss of the mass before reaction must be greater than mass after the reaction, and therefore we will have this particular simple C is option, Mx is greater than addition of My plus Mz. Symbolically this is given by, this is the correct relation for example number 22. Note that this is a spontaneous reaction, we are not providing energy from outside at all, and therefore this is possible. The amount of mass before reaction must be greater than amount of mass after the reaction, because along with this reaction some amount of energy is released. This released energy comes from the disappearance of the mass, and therefore initial mass must be greater than the mass of the elements that are generated after the process. So this is again a theoretical one. Then next is again a related to radioactivity. A half-life of 92 thorium-234 is 24 days. If 8 kilogram initial of the isotope is present initially, what amount remains after 72 days? So again, this table or this particular sample goes at t is equal to 0 days, we have 8 kilograms. Then after 24 days, t is equal to 24 days, half period, it remains 4 kilograms. Then next 24 days, so that is after 48 days, you will have 2 kilograms, and one more 24 days, that is 48 plus 24 is 72 days. So this particular sample remains 1 kg, and we are asked this after 72 days how much amount will be remains, and this is what the remaining amount, that is 1 kg, and therefore here the B is the correct option that can be chosen here. Okay. Next is again, so these are typical questions which are for a practice. We are not needed to go for any difficult calculations, not to use logarithm, not to use any other type of concept there. Just by putting in steps what happens to the nucleus, the sample remaining inside the nucleus, radioactive sample remaining inside the given material, that can be counted very easily as shown by this. This is another question number 24. Cobalt-60 is a radioactive source with half-life of about 5 years. After how many years will the activity of the new sample of cobalt-60 be decreased to 1/8 of its original activity? Now this, we are not asked number or sample, we are at activity, and activity is given by lambda into n. So again, you might be remembering this, we can write n is equal to n0 times e raised to minus lambda t, and that is what we calculate this n, and this is what, if it is multiplied by lambda on both sides, lambda into n is equal to lambda times n0 into e raised to minus lambda t, and this is what activity at t multiplied by active is equal to activity at 0 is 0 into e raised to minus lambda t. So this is also radioactive decay law, and this also satisfies same relation whatever applied for this half-life period. So we can use the same terminology here, so same method here. At, since 5 years have been given, and radioactive source with half-life, and after how many years the activity of the sample. So initially at t equal to 0, activity was 100, then after 5 years this activity will be reduced to 50, half of original, because it is to be satisfied by the same relation as we have shown here. Then after 10 years this will reduce to be 25 of its original is 100, and we are asked, so this is what, this is 1, this is 1 by 2, this is 1 by 4, then after t equal to 15 years this will reduce to be 12.5 of original activity, and if we go for this calculation, this becomes 1 upon 8. So 1 by 2, 1 by 4, 1 by 8, that shows you after 15 years 1 by 8 of the activity of the sample will be reduced, and that's what cobalt-60 activity will be decreased by 1 by 8 of its original value after 15 years, and that's what, this is the question number 24, which is asked in terms of activity and not in terms of the radioactive material remaining inside the substance after such and such half periods and so on. Now again, very simple, already we have understood that what happens in the case of formation of the nucleus. Based upon that, this particular example is given. Even though numbers are given, we are not needed to calculate anything here. Question number 25. A free proton MP is given to be 1.00782 U. U stands here for atomic mass units, AMU. Captures a neutron, so that is having its mass Mn is equal to 1.008665 U, and formation of deuterium Mg, it is 2.014102 atomic mass units or U. Which of the following is true about the mass of the deuterium? And already we have discussed, in the formation of any of the nucleus, mass of the nucleus is always less than mass of the addition of its components. So components are protons and neutrons. So therefore less than, option A, less than 1.0777825 atomic mass unit plus 1.008662. So this is the collective mass of the proton and neutron, and mass of the neutron is less than that. So naturally, option A is the correct option in this case, as per this nuclear theory. Then 26. When nuclear reaction takes place, which of the following is true about the reaction? Okay, nuclear reaction takes place, which is true about any of the reaction? The energy is conserved. As we know, every reaction, nuclear or chemical or physical, energy is always to be conserved. The electric charge is to be conserved. This is also a very fundamental principle of any of the physics, that charge conservation. Then mass is conserved. Actually, it is mass energy is conserved. That type of thing I have been given, but mass is also found to be conserved. Sometimes mass gets disappeared, but energy gets increased. Energy gets disappeared or mass gets increased. So mass energy to be conserved and the number of nucleons to be conserved. So in this case, actually the energy, what the correct is, actually all statements are correct. So all these statements are correct, and therefore D is option, that mass, energy, electric charge and number of nucleons all are conserved. So these are the called as conservation rules. Reaction conservation laws or conservation rules. So along with that, you might have heard about in nuclear physics, there is a lepton number conservation, there is hadron, or that is called as the proton number conservation, nuclear number conservation is there, then charge conservation is also there, then spin or the other types of quantum numbers are also there. So these also can be used here, and mass energy conservation is also there. So several conservation rules are there. Every nuclear reaction has to satisfy this type of conservation rules, and then this is supposed to be possible there. Now this is another reaction, question number 27. The name of the following reaction: 1H2, that is deuterium, plus 1H3, that is tritium. They come together and they form a nucleus twice He4, another nucleus, and along with that, that gives one neutron in this reaction. And this is the reaction where two lighter nuclei come together and form a heavier nucleus, and that's what this process is called as fusion. So out of the given option, fission, fusion, alpha decay, beta decay, gamma decay, B is the correct option, where two lighter nuclei come together and form a heavier nucleus. So this is larger nucleus in any of these two, but the mass of this adding total will be less than mass of this plus this, and therefore this is a exoergic reaction, in which process some amount of energy is released because certain mass is disappearing in this process. So this fusion reaction is where two smaller nuclei come together, they form a new nuclei along with some of the elementary particles like protons, neutrons, or any other type of particles, and this total addition of mass of constituents or the reactants is always more than the mass of the product, and that's what the mass is disappeared, gets converted to energy, and that is the amount of energy released in the fusion. In fission also, that is the same concept used to be there. Question number 28. The name of the following reaction. Here also, this is a heavier nucleus, uranium-235, 92 uranium-235, one neutron, that neutron is actually called as thermal neutron. So this is a thermal neutron, and as we know, this nucleus uranium-235, this thermal neutron, this is found to be a higher reaction cross section, or in this particular case, we have heard that higher reaction cross section is that the probability of occurrence of the reaction between this thermal neutron and this uranium-235 is very high, and that is almost 2000 barns. So barn is the unit used for measuring the nuclear reaction cross section, and because the process is a spontaneous process, you are not needed to give any high energy to this incident neutron. This neutron is immediately absorbed by this uranium-235. It becomes a compound nucleus, bit unstable, and after some time it gets broken into two parts, that is 56 Ba141 and 36 Kr92. So these are the nuclei in the middle range, and along with that, three more new neutrons are produced in this process, and this is the reaction which is called as the fundamental fission reaction, where heavy nucleus is spontaneously broken into two lighter nuclei. So in this process, this neutron is absorbed, compound nucleus is formed, and the new two nucleus have been generated in this process along with this neutron, these three neutrons, and this process is called as nuclear fission reaction. So A is the correct option on this question number 28. Next, 29. How many neutrons are released during the following fission reaction? So here we have to use the principle of conservation of nucleon numbers. So that can be used in this case. So initially it is 92 uranium 235 plus 0 N1. So this reaction shows before the reaction we have 235 plus 1, that is 236 total number of nucleons, and proton number is 92 plus 0, that is simply 92. After the reaction I have 88 plus 136 plus I have to calculate this, how many number of neutrons are there, and similarly this addition here will be, the proton number will be 38 plus 54 if it is added. So 8 plus 4 is 2, 1 will be there, and 3 plus 5 is 8 plus, so 92. So the number of protons is remaining same, number of nucleons is now little bit changed. So it is 235 plus 1 is 236. To get, we have to get this number also will be 236. So add these two. So 88 plus 136, if it is added, 8 plus 6 is 4, 1 will get 1 here, 3 plus 8 is 11 plus 2, so there is 2, and 8 and 3 is 11 and 1 is 12, and this is 1 is there, and therefore 2 to 4. So how much I need? 88 plus 136, how much it is? 6 and 8 is 4, this is 1 is there, and 12, 1 is 2 to 4. So this will be 10 number of nucleons will be there. So 10 number of neutrons will be there. So this number 2 to 4, and initially we had 236 minus 2 to 4, this gives you 2 here, this gives you 1, and this gives you 0 here. So difference of 12 neutrons are there, and this is how we'll get 12 number here. Okay, so just check this. I'll get this number to be 12 such neutrons will be possible theoretically. Practically it is not. Practically it is 1 or 2 or 3, maximum 3, not more than that neutrons are possible in any of the reaction, but theoretically answer comes here, and therefore E is the correct option here. Okay, so what practically happens and what theoretically happens, little bit difference is there. So this equivalence of the reaction or the nucleon number conservation tells you 12 such neutrons will be generated in the process according to example number 29. Same is now here with what, example number 30, what is the missing element from the following reaction. So this is again, you can, nuclear reaction is given, so go on calculating the total number of nucleons on the left hand side as well as right hand side, and you'll find here on the left hand side I have 9. Okay, so right hand side the number is given, so 12 plus 1, that is 13, and 6 plus 0, that is 6 number of protons. So earlier I have 4 here, 9 is here, and therefore this comes to be 2 number of protons and 4 number of nucleons, and we know that whenever this type of combination comes, it is nothing but twice He4. So when we added this helium nucleus to this 9Be4 9B9, I'll get 6C12 new nucleus as well as 1 neutron will be added there, and therefore this is the correct answer. So from the given options, E is the correct option, where this 4He, so twice He4 helium nucleus, when it is bombarded with this 4 beryllium 9, then this will get converted into 6C12 and 1 neutron will be released in this process. So this is one simple reaction, that reaction, nuclear reaction, can be balanced as shown by this. Next, what is the missing element from the following reaction? Similar type of reaction, 7 and 40. Now left hand side is given, so I can use again the conservation rule here. Nuclear number conservation gives you 14 plus 4 is 18, and 7 number of protons plus 2 number of protons, that gives me it is 9 here. On the right hand side we'll get 17 plus whatever that is to be added here, and 8 plus something that is to be added here. So naturally this is 1 is less on the left hand side and right hand, so this is 1, and here also 9 and 8, this is 1, and we know that having proton number 1, nucleon number 1, and this is element, this is proton, or that is hydrogen nucleus, that is 1H1, and therefore amongst the given option 0E minus 1, 0E plus 1, 1H1, 1H2 deuterium, and this is twice He for helium nucleus. So this C is the correct answer in the given nuclear reaction. Probably this is the last one, question number 32. So what is the missing element from the following reaction? Now you can easily calculate. Again, go for the left hand side. Left hand side's total number of nucleons is 24 plus 1, that is 25. Here left hand side 12 plus 0, that is the total number of other protons on the atomic number, and that is 12. On the right hand side we have 1 less, so there is 1 to be additional, we have to add here, and this is 25, so 1 2 is there, and this is the element having atomic number 1 and nucleon number 2. It is nothing but deuterium, or that is 1H2, and therefore here in this given option 1H2, this D option is the maximum correct answer, and therefore this reaction is 24 Mg12 or 12 Mg24 plus 0 N1. This gives you 11 sodium, that is 23, and plus 1 H2. So deuterium is generated in this process, and thereby we can find out the missing element in the reaction very easily. So here all these questions are very fundamental questions, simple questions, do not involve lot many difficult concepts from the nuclear reactions and like that. So nuclear reaction cross section, other types of aspects have not been covered here. So here we have finished this second video lecture on this MCQ or probable MCQ for this nuclear physics multiple choice question examination that is to be held in October. In the next video we will go for few more advanced topics from this nuclear physics, and again some same number of questions will be solved there. So thank you for patience listening. Thank you all.